And so, yeah, those a lot of those films really play with the format of what a film is and what a narrative is, which I really love. So, uh, and even like if people have seen just a random examples, but there's a show by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Fleabag, which it is an example of a show where one of my favorites, where she always talks to the camera, and she does it in this way where it really fucks with the format of like what our expectations are within a show. Like, what do we expect? And that's the thing. I've always thrived on being different. That's always driven me strangely. I don't know exactly why. Even when I was making my own music and being in the hip hop scene, I always felt this desire to be different. And it drove every one of my creative decisions, really. And so I think maybe that's how the more unique concepts come about, is that constant strive to do something different. Because, I think that's why I've followed everything I've followed in life, is like, it's all about, it's like fighting boredom, fighting normality, and actually, it's funny getting older now and having kids, and a lot of my friends having families and things like that, where it's really actually quite easy. People don't realize, but it's quite easy to become boring. And I was talking about it the other night, like how you've got to fight the boring. I truly believe that's part of, because, people say that the older you get, the quicker time goes. Some say that, a way to battle that is like, a really simple example they say is like, take a different route to work, because that you'll see different things that you hadn't seen before. If you drive the same way to work every single day, you don't see that drive.
Yeah.
If you take a different way, you might come across something and things change. And so for me, I think my life is always filled with fighting, and everything can be fun. Life is an incredibly fun, amazing experience if we fight to have that feeling. And I think the same goes for creativity. We can suffocate in the pressure of it, or we can do same old shit, or you can keep pushing and fight the boring.
I love that so much. That's like my favorite quote of yours ever, I think. Chloe asked a really great question. I think I think I remember you saying you did graphic design at uni. Do you think that helped you much for moving into what you do now? Would it be something that you recommend?
It's funny, people often ask me that, and it's different for everybody. So you've got to follow what feels right for you. The reason I would recommend study is because it does channel you into a focus that you otherwise wouldn't have had, because the pressures are there. I remember actually asking a good friend of mine, because I left uni to pursue music, and then I came back. So I did a year, and then I did the second and third year much later on to finish the degree. And so I remember hitting up my friend, like, should I do this? He was working in the graphic design world. And he was like, and I'm like, does it help you get a job, or does it help you this and that? He's like, well, it's not gonna actually, like, no one's gonna check whether you have a degree or not, really. Like, the thing of it is what you actually learn, which sounds obvious, but it's what he's like, I couldn't do what I do now if it wasn't for the study that I did. Like, and I think that if you focus on it, what's the worst that can happen from pursuing it? If you can commit to it, and you have the money it's going to cost, or the time that it's going to take, then I think if you have an interest in something, then why not? I would say be careful of taking on. There's a lot of courses out there which aren't university courses that are like 1 year things that are like privatized and stuff like that. And I think that you want to be careful with some of them, because I feel like a lot of them are a bit dodgily run. and you don't want to like waste your money. But I'm not saying don't do. Some of them are really strong. Like there's some really good 1 year. There's definitely some really strong ones, but you just want to do the research and make sure that it's going to get you what you want, because it is a huge commitment. But yeah, I mean, look, you'll say as well, Mish, whether you learn your skills from going and studying or you learn it from going and doing, the main thing you need is the skill. You just have to have the skill, otherwise there's no point. And it's funny, I'm not sure I can quite articulate this, but I remember having feelings in my own career, more so actually in my music career, where I thought about, like, I think in truth it's easy when I think I found early on, it's easy to pursue something because, like, imagine being that thing, and imagine being a director. Like, imagine that feeling and being that dude that was there, that was making all the decisions, and like, it's like the image of that is like was cool to me as a young person. Or what if I was on stage and doing, and people were singing my lyrics or all this stuff, and it was like the idea of it that was driving me. But the thing is that that's all fucking bullshit unless you have the passion and the drive and the skills to make it all worthwhile. And I think it's I guess what I'm saying is, don't ever let the drive of that end thing be the reason you do it. It's more about the art that you create and the connection that you can have and the skill that you can develop. Like, it's more like, what if I got there and I could actually hold it down so well for that team who needed it from me, as opposed to like, oh, I could be that dude who was like, had that title or whatever the thing. Because I don't give a fuck about that now, because I am that, yeah, I'm not sure how much that makes sense, but I just, and being really truthfully, I actually felt that in my music career, because I got to these places where, like, I remember I went to New York to work with these writers, and I was like writing in these studios in like Times Square, and it was all really kind of glamorous and shit. But I didn't have it. I didn't, well, and that's that self-doubt thing, but I felt like I'm in this room with these producers who, whatever, I didn't connect with. But the point was, I was like, I should be at a point now where, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be in that fucking studio in Times Square to write a dope song. You can be in your bedroom, and you don't have to be at the top of this pillar to create something big. What you've got to do is have the ability, no matter where you are or what your situation is, or that sort of thing. And something that often brings it up for me is, like, I often thought, I don't know if I'd even want to meet my heroes, because I don't, like, am I good enough to like do I have anything to offer these people or whatever? And I think the point is like, if you can develop yourself to the point where you have a voice and you have something to give and offer, and especially from a place of honesty and all of that, then that's when you probably would want to meet your heroes, because you'd actually be able to have a worthwhile conversation. It's totally a bit of a vague explanation I'm giving there, but yeah.
I love that so much. You said something that really resonated with me in terms of like creating something. I mean, the Rule Project is such a good example of this. So at some point, and it was probably about 2 years ago, after I'd done Her Sound, and I'd got to the point where I was just really sick of that project and talking about it, and realizing like that project was my, and Claudia's baby, and it was very much my identity for like 4 years, and everyone knew me because of that project, but I was no longer getting the love and enjoyment out of it. But I was with the stuff for Rule and working with the team, and that, it's the project that has the least to do with me as a person, as a brand, but it's the thing that fulfills me the most, is working with this team, who are my dear friends, and working on something where we're watching somebody else's success through helping that through our art. Like, it's the greatest, like, Oh, thank you so much, Devin. Thank you so much for the continuing the gift sub. Is that what that is? That was a really weird alert thing that happened then. Continue the gift sub they got from Shoot. Awesome. Thank you, Devin. It's just really weird how, and I think it's, 10 years in for my career as well, it just becomes less about me as an artist and more what I can do for other people's success, and how amazing that feels. Like, that is the best feeling in the world, like watching somebody else be really successful and helping them through creating your art, if that makes sense.
Yes, and creating it in the best way that you possibly could,
Yes.
So
at the highest level,
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's not about the ego, it's about the and because it is an important thing as well, is like, what is this all for? Like, what is this all for? And I often think, I think the points where I feel the most inspired is like, well, what you just said, where you're seeing, this dude, not just Rule, who we love so much, but the team that we love so much as well, that we're seeing the direct response and growth and everything of that. But it's also, I think, the inspiration that, seems to happen from people, even, anyone listening now and people commenting on stuff or just seeing it, whether they comment or not, that inspires them to create, and that that I think that's a really important thing for me, because it is easy, especially if you're a bit existential or a bit, negative sometimes or whatever. It's like, what's it for? What's the point of anything? not to get too deep on it, but what to what end? Like, how am I benefiting the world with this? But I think that something that is really important is that, like, I think creativity and inspiration keeps us alive. And, going back to that thing of fighting that boring aspect, it's like, like the fire we get from that burning inspiration, or that thing, that piece of art that we see or whatever, like that stuff is actually really important. And we do inspire each other. And I think that's a really important aspect. And again, going back, it's not about you. It's not about you and your ego and the praise or whatever. It's about so if someone says, oh my God, that thing, like this and that, like, what's most important to me about that is not that they're giving me their praise. It's more that may inspire them to push to create something, or just enjoy it and get something from it, and lighten up, life, especially now. That's the fucking other thing. Life is,
oh my God,
it's a hard time. It's a really hard time for so many people. And and especially that Groundhog Day aspect of in quarantine and everything, and that disconnection we're all getting from masks, and got so many aspects, imminent doom, and so on. Like, the positivity of art and connection is invaluable in these times.
Totally. I'll just ask one more question, because I know you have to go and Nate's cracking the whip and you have to you have to get back to doing this work that we're talking about. But Kobe asked, what have you been doing in quarantine to keep yourself entertained creatively? Essentially, you've been working almost the whole way through, haven't you? Like on Rule stuff. It hasn't changed that much for you, other than restricting the amount of normal work that you'd be doing outside the house. But other than that, there's been a pretty high level of work going on.
Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of time to sort of keep myself entertained. I mean, I think, so through this time, it's been pretty nonstop work. But what I have found in quarantine, something that I could not have done this without, is marking weekends, and because otherwise it just all mashes into one. So I've been working really hard, for Monday to Friday, and then trying to take weekends off. In that time, I spend the whole weekend with my kids. So I've got to 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I think they're probably my, when you talk about keeping you entertained, or that's like, to me, that's about and entertainment is energy. It's like, if we watch a film that really inspires us, that's a certain type of energy, and I think I get that energy from playing with my kids and doing fun adventures with them. And I got an electric skateboard.
Oh yes, you did.
That shit is crazy.
Yeah.
Going out, getting outside, and so on. And actually, I mean, if we're talking about, just on the thing of routine and keeping yourself inspired, entertained, sane. What I've found is really important in this time is creating structure for yourself. And so for me, I'll pretty much try to get up relatively early, exercise, and then I live by the bay in Victoria, so every single morning I go down, and which Misha's boy does as well.
My husband does that as well. We live on opposite sides of the bay, like literally, like, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be quite quick to get if we had a speedboat, but we don't.
Exactly. Yeah. But just as freezing on either side. So
Yes.
so I jump in the freezing cold water, and I committed to doing that every day, and I think that has really helped me to like stay on my game and feel awake and alive and whatever. And then I come to my desk and I work, and then, like I said, I do that for the week, and then I take weekends to sort of feed myself, because that's the thing is that I think a lot of ambitious people, which we are, don't. It's easy to not respect yourself and what you require, as in it's work, constant. I've got to get, in order to get here, I've just got to grind, which isn't actually true, because you have to feed your soul. You have to feed what creates that creativity. And if you don't, you won't come up with anything. And actually, I do think there have been certain times in my life where I've been so focused on that thing that I wanted so bad that I forget to have a life. And that isn't inspiring to the art that you're going to make. So I think that friendships and are really so much more important than people realize as well. I often thought that when I was working really hard and I don't have time to see my friends or go and do this shit, it's bollocks, because that feeds you. So I think also just connecting with people through this time has been important, but also hard. But even thinking about the possibilities and what, how we're going to gather and be together when we can, I think is keeping me going.
The other thing too, I think, is we're really lucky in that our friendship group is so intricately tied to our work, and when we do get to see each other for work, it's such a genuinely awesome catch up, because we adore each other so much. So it's just like, we like hanging out with each other and being silly, and even if it's in a work environment, we have to catch up for a meeting or whatever, it's still fun as well. So that's super cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. Kobe said thank you for always feeding us content. We appreciate all of your work so much, so that's nice to hear.
Thank you.
And Jack said, this has made me appreciate my friends so much more. I took them for granted. So it's nice that it's teaching us these lessons in these times. I'm going to stick around a little bit, guys, if you still want to hang out on the stream for a bit longer, but we'll say goodbye to Jeremy. We'll let him go. Nate is cracking that whip, and we probably need to talk, I think, just about some photo stuff as well at some stage. So we'll do that this afternoon. But thank you so much, Jem. You're the best. And
you are.
We'll talk to you really soon.
All right. Love you, pal.
Love you, guts. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for that, guys. That was fun.